The Confused AI's Report. Zara Keth stared at the holographic display floating above her workstation, her emerald eyes wide with disbelief. The golden undertones of her skin seemed to pale as she read through Vera's latest research compilation on human romantic behavior. "This cannot be accurate," she murmured in her melodic Zendaran accent, scrolling through data that made her stomach twist with anxiety. Vera's synthetic voice chimed cheerfully from the speakers embedded in her laboratory walls. "All data has been verified through multiple Earth-based sources, researcher Keth. Human courtship involves highly aggressive territorial displays." The AI's report painted a terrifying picture of human romance. According to Vera's analysis, humans engage in something called wrestling for dominance during intimate moments, claiming ownership through bite marks, and participating in synchronized unconsciousness rituals that could last for hours. Most disturbing was Vera's conclusion that humans regularly engage in breathing theft through a bizarre mouth-to-mouth combat technique. Zara's delicate features scrunched in confusion as she read further. Combat hugging? Territorial bed claiming? Vera, are you certain these behaviors aren't describing some form of warfare? Negative, researcher Keth. Multiple sources confirm these activities bring humans great pleasure and emotional satisfaction. However, I must warn you that your assigned research partner, human Marcus Reed, arrives tomorrow for your collaborative study on interspecies communication. The scientist's heart began racing as she imagined the gentle-looking human from his personnel file suddenly transforming into some kind of romantic predator. The Zendaran Science Council had specifically chosen her for this assignment because of her expertise in cross-cultural linguistics, but nothing in her training had prepared her for the apparently violent nature of human affection. "Vera, compile all safety protocols immediately," Zara commanded, her voice trembling slightly. "If this Marcus Reed attempts any of these courtship behaviors on me, I need to be prepared." "Compiling defensive strategies now," Vera replied with helpful efficiency. "Shall I also research human dietary preferences? Several sources suggest they consume their romantic partner's cooking as a bonding ritual, though the exact meaning of eating someone out requires further analysis." Zara buried her face in her hands, wondering how she'd survive the next month working alongside what Vera's data suggested was essentially a romantic savage. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough, or perhaps, given Vera's terrifying research, it couldn't stay away long enough. Her communication device chimed with an incoming message from Marcus. "Looking forward to working together tomorrow. I've heard wonderful things about Zendaran hospitality." Zara stared at the message, wondering if hospitality was some kind of human code word for surrender.
The Panic Protocol. The laboratory doors chimed softly as Marcus Reed entered, carrying a steaming cup of coffee and wearing what Zara had learned to recognize as a human smile. Her heart immediately began hammering against her ribcage as Vera's sensors detected his presence. "Alert! Human male approaching," Vera announced with clinical precision, detecting elevated pheromone levels and direct eye contact behavior. Mating approach protocols likely initiated. Marcus paused mid-step, his brown eyes crinkling with confusion as he looked around the lab. "Did your AI just say something about mating protocols?" Zara scrambled backwards so quickly that she knocked over a stack of translation matrices, their crystalline surfaces scattering across the floor with musical chimes. "Stay back," she squeaked, pressing herself against the far wall. "I know what you humans do during your courtship rituals." What? Marcus set his coffee down slowly, raising both hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Zara, I just came here to work on the linguistic analysis project. Are you okay?" Vera has documented everything, Zara's golden skin flushing with distress. The combat hugging, the breathing theft, the territorial bed claiming. "I won't be your research victim." Marcus blinked several times before a look of horrified understanding crossed his features. "Oh no. Oh, Zara." I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding." He took a careful step closer, noting how she flinched. "What exactly has your AI been telling you about humans?" Vera helpfully interjected. "My analysis indicates that human Reed's proximity increase suggests imminent wrestling behavior. Researcher Keth, shall I activate emergency protocols?" "Wrestling behavior?" Marcus couldn't help but laugh, which only made Zara look more terrified. "Vera, I think you've been misinterpreting some very specific human entertainment sources." Zara peered suspiciously at him. "You're not going to attempt mouth-to-mouth breathing theft? You mean kissing?" Marcus's expression softened with understanding. "Zara, kissing isn't theft. It's sharing, and it only happens when both people want it to happen." But Vera said humans mark their territory through bite marks and engage in synchronized sleeping. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, fighting back another inappropriate chuckle. "Your AI has been researching human relationships through some very creative sources. Would you let me show you what human affection actually looks like?" Vera's sensors whirred ominously. "Warning. Human Reed is requesting permission for physical contact demonstration. This appears to be advanced courtship strategy." "It's not a strategy," Marcus said gently, extending his hand palm up toward Zara. "It's just being kind. That's all human love really is, Zara. Kindness." Zara stared at his outstretched hand, her emerald eyes wide with uncertainty, as Vera continued cataloging what it perceived as pre-mating negotiation behaviors. Understanding through gentleness. Zara's eyes remained fixed on Marcus's outstretched hand as if it were some exotic specimen she was trying to classify. After several tense moments, she tentatively reached out with one trembling finger and barely brushed his palm. "See?" Marcus whispered softly, not moving his hand despite the electric tingle that shot through him at her touch. "No wrestling, no combat, just connection." Subject exhibits decreased stress indicators, Vera observed with scientific detachment, heart rate dropping to acceptable parameters. However, human Reed's palm temperature has increased significantly. Possible fever onset detected. Marcus chuckled quietly. "Not a fever, Vera. That's just what happens when someone you care about touches you." Zara's golden skin shifted to a deeper amber shade, a Zendaran sign of curiosity overcoming fear. You care about me? But we've only just met." "Caring doesn't require a timeline," Marcus explained, slowly turning his hands so their palms could rest together properly. "Humans form connections quickly when we feel safe with someone. And you've been nothing but gracious, even when you thought I was some kind of romantic predator." As they worked together over the next few hours, Marcus demonstrated his point through small, gentle gestures. When Zara struggled to reach a high datapad, he retrieved it for her, his hand briefly touching her shoulder in reassurance. When she seemed confused by a human linguistic pattern, he leaned closer to explain, his breath warm near her ear but never threatening. "This is what human affection actually looks like," Marcus murmured as he helped her calibrate a translation device, his larger hands guiding hers over the controls. "We protect each other. We make life easier for the people we care about. We share warmth and comfort." Zara found herself relaxing into his presence, her earlier terror melting away as she experienced his genuine kindness. When he smiled at her successful translation of a complex idiom, she felt a strange fluttering sensation in her chest that had nothing to do with fear. "Fascinating," Vera recorded. Subject bioluminescent patterns have shifted from stress yellow to what appears to be contentment blue. Additionally, proximity to human Reed no longer triggers defensive responses. "Maybe," Zara said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper as Marcus adjusted her workstation lighting to better suit her eyesight. "Human romantic behavior isn't so frightening after all."
Marcus paused in his adjustments, meeting her gaze directly. The real thing is never frightening, Zara. It should make you feel safer, not less safe. Subject appears to be developing emotional attachment protocols, Vera noted with confusion. This was not predicted in my original analysis. Zara's amber blush deepened as she realized Vera might actually be right about something for once.
The first touch. 3 weeks into their collaboration, the laboratory had become a sanctuary of quiet understanding. Zara no longer flinched when Marcus entered the room, and their work had developed an easy rhythm of shared discovery. Tonight, they were working late to complete their analysis of emotional expression patterns across species. "Hand me that resonance crystal, would you?" Zara asked, reaching across her workstation without looking up from her calculations. Her fingers closed around what she thought was the smooth crystal surface, but instead found the sharp, broken edge of a damaged data storage unit. "Ah!" she gasped, jerking her hand back as golden drops of blood, surprisingly similar to human blood, welled from the cut across her palm. Marcus was beside her instantly, his face creased with concern. "Let me see," he said softly, catching her injured hand in both of his. His touch was impossibly gentle as he examined the wound, his thumbs barely grazing her skin. "Warning. Human Reed has initiated physical contact," Vera announced. "However, stress indicators suggest this may be medical assistance rather than courtship behavior." "It's not too deep," Marcus murmured, his voice low and soothing, "but we should clean it properly." He reached for the medical kit they kept in the lab, never releasing her hand. "May I?" Zara nodded, mesmerized by the careful way he cleaned the cut with antiseptic, his movements precise yet tender. When he wrapped her palm with soft gauze, his fingers lingered against her skin, and she felt that strange, fluttering sensation intensify into something warmer, deeper. "There," he whispered, but he didn't let go of her hand. Instead, his thumb traced gentle circles around the bandage, his brown eyes meeting hers. "Does it hurt?" "No," Zara breathed, though her heart was racing for entirely different reasons now. The golden tones of her skin had shifted to a soft rose amber that made her look luminous in the laboratory's dim lighting. "Marcus, the way you touch me." "Elevated heart rate detected," Vera reported, with clinical interest. "Subject's bioluminescence has shifted to patterns consistent with romantic interest. Fascinating." Marcus smiled, his own pulse quickening at Vera's surprisingly accurate observation. "Is that what this is?" he asked quietly, his other hand coming up to cup her cheek with the same careful reverence he'd shown her injury. Zara leaned into his touch, her emerald eyes fluttering closed. "I think your AI was wrong about everything except one thing," she whispered. "What's that?" "Human touch isn't dangerous. It's magic." She opened her eyes to meet his gaze. "Subject appears to be experiencing optimal emotional bonding," Vera noted with satisfaction. "Recommend continued proximity for research purposes." For once, Marcus thought, the AI might actually be giving good advice.
When AI plays matchmaker. 2 days after the incident with the crystal, Vera had been unusually quiet, processing what it called extensive behavioral data analysis. Zara and Marcus had continued their work, but the air between them hummed with unspoken possibilities, their conversations punctuated by lingering glances and gentle touches that seemed to happen more frequently. "Analysis complete," Vera announced suddenly as they reviewed their final research reports. "Based on 4 weeks of observation, I have reached a definitive conclusion about optimal human-Zendaran bonding protocols." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Should we be worried?" "Negative. My calculations indicate that you and researcher Keth have achieved maximum compatibility ratings across all measured parameters: intellectual stimulation, emotional resonance, and physical chemistry indicators." Zara's golden skin flushed to that now familiar rose amber. "Vera, what are you suggesting?"
Initiating optimal romance protocols, the AI declared with unusual determination. Suddenly, the laboratory lights dimmed to a soft, warm glow. Gentle instrumental music began playing through the speakers, something Vera had apparently classified as human mating sounds, but which actually resembled a beautiful interstellar symphony. Vera, Zara protested, but her voice lacked conviction as she found herself standing closer to Marcus in the intimate lighting. My research indicates that humans and compatible species engage in close physical contact to establish emotional bonds. Specifically, the touching of lips appears to be a significant milestone in relationship development. Marcus laughed softly, his hands finding Zara's waist with natural ease. Your AI is trying to give us dating advice. Is it working? Zara whispered, her emerald eyes sparkling in the dimmed lights as she stepped even closer to him. Maybe, Marcus murmured, his forehead coming to rest against hers, though I think I would have figured this out eventually even without Vera's help. Subject exhibits optimal receptivity, Vera noted with scientific satisfaction, proceeding with final protocol implementation. But Marcus and Zara were no longer listening to the AI's commentary. In the gentle glow of the laboratory lights, with stellar music playing softly around them, Marcus cupped Zara's face in his hands and kissed her with all the tenderness she'd learned to associate with human love. Zara melted into the kiss, her arms winding around his neck as she finally understood what Vera's confused research had been trying to describe. This wasn't combat or territory claiming. It was sharing breath, sharing warmth, sharing the intimate space between two hearts that had found their match across the vastness of space. Research conclusion confirmed, Vera announced with obvious pride. Human affection is indeed non-lethal and highly beneficial for subjects' well-being. When they finally broke apart, both breathless and glowing, Marcus with happiness, Zara with literal bioluminescence, Marcus whispered against her lips, "So, want to engage in some more of those synchronized sleeping rituals Vera was so worried about?" Zara's laughter rang like music through the laboratory as she realized that sometimes even the most confused AI could stumble onto the most beautiful truths.